Late night Louie, y'all know what it is. Friday night. These are rare, right? These are very, very rare. I cherish these moments when I can chop it up with you guys on a Friday night. Now, like I said, there's always a million things you could be doing on a Friday night. So I don't expect the crowd to be as robust tonight. But whomever does show up, we're going to have ourselves a damn good time. And we got a lot to talk about. The AFC North was turned upside down this week with all the injuries. We're going to talk about that. None bigger than Joe Burrow out for the season. NFL is investigating the Cincinnati Bengals. I've got a little bit to say about that. Then there's Robert Griffin III. Y'all heard about Rob trying to politic to get his way back into the league. I got a little bit to say about that. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. I don't even want to call it the hip drop tackle because giving it a name gives it a face, and it makes it easier for the league to villainize it or vilify, it, and outlaw it. So we're just going to say the tackle that was made last night that injured tight end Mark Andrews. We're going to talk about that. And, of course, it's Friday, so I've got my money picks of the week. All of that and social media maneuvers. I want to hear from you guys. So much to get to. You know what it is. LouieTeeNetwork podcast starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 374th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. A lot to get to tonight on the pod. It's late night Louie now. I'm on my annual Thanksgiving fast. So no alcoholic beverages, no adult beverages for the kid. Haven't had one since late October. And usually I fast for a month into Thanksgiving because I know my body is about to just absolutely go through it the next week or two. We'll call it 2 weeks or so. So I try to prepare my body by, cleansing it, giving it all of the, we'll call it the armor. That's the word I was looking for. All the armor that it needs to deal with all the shit that I'm about to put it through over the next couple of weeks when Thanksgiving hits. So, looking forward to Thanksgiving, as I always am every year. Favorite time of the year. I tell you guys that every year. And this is no different. So it's not going to be as funny as it probably would have been had I had a glass of wine accompanying me on the show. But it's still going to be a good show because there's a lot to discuss. And I want to hear from you guys on some of this stuff too, which is why I kind of altered the show tonight. No Thursday night leftovers. We're going to go to social media maneuvers. Haven't done that enough this year because the podcast schedule has been really wonky this year. So you haven't had those Wednesday, podcasts where you just get to kind of open up on whatever it is you feel like talking about. Hell, you want to talk about the Marvels movie? Knock yourself out, right? That's the kind of energy I'm trying to bring to the table tonight. But in any event, I want to start with a serious topic tonight, and that's the Joe Burrow injury, and really the AFC North being turned upside down with the two big injuries to the quarterbacks. And then you factor in Mark Andrews and his significance for the Ravens. That feels like a big loss. Like I said last night, though, with all of the things the Ravens have done from a personnel standpoint, specifically on the offensive side, specifically at the receiver position, it kind of feels like they're in the best position they've ever been to withstand this type of an injury. But still, there's no replacing Mark Andrews in that Ravens attack. You saw Lamar Jackson's reaction when he saw Mark Andrews, in writhing in pain. his first reaction was to slam his helmet down. He already knew it was bad, and he knows how important Mark Andrews is to that offense. So, and we saw the immediate impact. The next 2 drives, Lamar Jackson was 1 of 5 with 2 sacks and -4 yards passing. So again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out the importance. It took them literally 2 drives to kind of recalibrate, so to speak. So, and even when they did that, I feel like the officials got involved. The wide receiver screen was a touchdown, and it should not have been called back. But then they jumped in and imparted themselves in the game with the 2 pass interference penalties. Again, that's another subject and another topic for another day. Anyway, you know what it is. Let's get to the gem dropping session, shall we? I think we shall. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T-double-E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So I want to talk about this injury to Joe Burrow. And before I start there, I want to talk about the injury to Deshaun Watson, just briefly. Watson, because we'll talk more about it, I believe, as we move on, because I have something to say about Robert Griffin III, putting in his bid to be the Browns' replacement for Watson this season. But that'll be later on in the show. Watson's injury is significant because of this and this alone. They don't have another guy. And I'll just say this. I bet the Browns wish they wouldn't have been as frugal with the draft capital now. Seeing what the Vikings gave up to get Josh Dobbs, I bet they wish they would have given up a 6th-round pick to get Josh Dobbs. I bet they wish they would have given up whatever the Commanders were asking for it. I highly doubt the Commanders felt like they were going to fetch a day 2 pick. I don't know if that's what they were truly asking for. But I told you, I would have played hardball and said, hey, you're desperate. Let me get a 4. And if they counter it with a 5, a 5 that's a conditional 4 that, hey, you make the playoffs, it turns into a 4. I would have done that. I bet they wish they would have been a little bit more aggressive now, because Dorian Thompson-Robinson ain't it. I can tell you that right now. Now, I think the kid's actually got a bright future. I actually like some of the things I've seen him do, but he's not ready to lead this team to win now. I can tell you that right now. After seeing his first start, understanding, what is going to be necessary for this Browns team to survive, he's not it. Not right now. And I know they wish, because PJ Walker, the reason they're going back to DTR is because PJ Walker didn't show them any damn thing in his. Now, he won Colts game, 49ers game, but they won in spite of PJ Walker, not because of him. So they did that strength solely off the strength of, we don't really have any other recourse. If we go back to PJ Walker, we're screwed. So I know they are a little bit more regretful today or this week, knowing what they know now about Deshaun Watson. But I'll just say this. Watson wasn't all that impressive this year. He hadn't been, to me, at least. I will say he was gutsy. He was physical. He ran. That's part of the reason he's probably hurt now. A lot of running on his part. But from a passing standpoint, he wasn't that impressive to me. He was solid. But they didn't pay him $230 million to be solid. They paid him to be the Deshaun Watson we saw in Houston. I've yet to see that man arrive in Cleveland. Have you? Asking for a friend. So let's talk about Joe Burrow. I want to start this podcast by saying this. Somebody yesterday at the end of as soon as Burrow went down and they found out that he was done for the game and potentially done for the season, somebody immediately tweeted at me in all caps, Joe Burrow out for the season again. He's injury prone. Keep that same energy y'all have for Lamar. And it got me to thinking. First of all, he directed it at me as if I have some sort of energy for Lamar or something like that. I was kind of confused by why was this venom being spit my way? But that could have been him just essentially saying it out loud, like, hey, this is what everyone always says about Lamar. He can't stay healthy. And I mean, it's been true the last 3 years. Lamar Jackson hasn't taken the last offensive snap in each of the last 3 years for the Baltimore Ravens. That's a fact. However, it struck me as odd sitting there thinking about it. When he said that, I was like, why is this even a conversation? And then I sat and I thought about it. I'm like, out of a 4-year career, this is year 4 of Joe Burrow. He was the number 1 overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft. This is year 4. Of the 4 years, he hasn't finished 2 of those seasons. Okay, so the bookend years, the first year and this present year will be his last season thus far, or most recent. And he didn't finish either one of those seasons. Major injuries, one lower extremity in his rookie season. This one is a wrist injury. He's not going to finish either one of the seasons. Obviously, the Bengals, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but the Bengals aren't making the playoffs this year. I mean, we'll talk about that as well. But I think everybody realizes this season is pretty much done with the injury to Joe Burrow. Did you see those moon balls that Jake Browning was throwing up as so-called deep balls? God bless his soul. And good luck to Bengals fans the remainder of the season. It's going to be rough. I struggle with teams with quarterbacks and Super Bowl aspirations that don't have a built-in legitimate plan at backup quarterback. I struggle with those teams who decide that having Jake Browning as your backup quarterback is a good idea, knowing you have Super Bowl aspirations. And I'm not telling you that if you plan on winning the Super Bowl, having a Jacoby Brissett is going to do you any good, because that guy probably isn't going to come in and win you a whole bunch of games either. But a great example of having a competent, formidable NFL backup saving the day like you're supposed to if you have Super Bowl aspirations is the Chiefs. A couple of years back when Chad Henne had to come in for Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. And if I'm not mistaken, he's had to do that multiple times. He did it last year, as a matter of fact, in the Jags game. Did it the 2 years prior to that against the Browns, right? That's an example of a team being prepared in the event that something happens to their starter. This is an example of a team not being prepared in the event that something happens to their starting quarterback. Again, I'm off topic. Back to the Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow discussion. So this is the second year out of 4 years. So 50% of his career, he hasn't finished the season. So I'm thinking to myself, well, damn, he's not that different than Lamar. I was sitting there, I was caping for him, right? I was like, hey, last time I checked, Joe Burrow hasn't missed the last 3, hasn't. I said, last time I checked, Joe Burrow didn't miss his team's last 3 seasons. He did, he finished the season for his team the last 3 years. Last time I checked. However, looking at the small sample size, 4 years of Joe Burrow, 2 of those years he didn't finish. But here's the difference. And this is why anybody that wants to even have a conversation, this is where it starts, this is where it ends. Joe Burrow, when healthy, the 2 years in between, 2021, 2022, AFC Championship, in 2021, Super Bowl. There's nothing else to say. Essentially, when he plays the entire year, his team is in the AFC Championship game. When he doesn't, and we'll see what happens this year, but we pretty much know where this season is going now. When he doesn't, this team goes to hell in a handbasket. Same thing you can say for Lamar Jackson. They still made the playoffs last year, but nobody really gave them a realistic shot at doing anything with Tyler Huntley at quarterback. They fell apart the year before, and the year before that, he got injured in the Buffalo playoff game and did not finish. So he hasn't finished the season each of the last 3 years, if we're being literal, right? Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. Somebody brought it up. And, after sitting down and thinking about it, like, well, shit, Joe really hasn't been super healthy. But when he has been, And that's what you have to factor in. When he's been one of the best. And that's where to me, the discussion ends. Anyway, that's a major injury. And it sucks as a fan of the league for someone like myself who's not a Bengals fan but just loves the NFL. That injury sucks because the Bengals were going to make something of this season, whether you believed in them or not. The Bengals started slow last year, made it all the way to the AFC Championship game. I think the Bengals were 5-4 each of the last 2 seasons. They made it to the AFC Championship game each of the last 2 seasons. This was the 3rd straight year, if I'm not mistaken, that they were 5-4 on the season. And we saw what happened the previous 2 times. They were going to win that game last night, by the way. And we can argue back and forth. There's no reason to do it because there's no proof, right? There's no way to prove that they were going to win. I'm just telling you, by the eyeball test, Joe was ready to do the Ravens in last night. And because of how prolific he was throwing the football, the run game was ridiculous. The Bengals don't even run the ball well. And Joe Mixon was eaten because they were so concerned with Joe Burrow as a passer. They weren't going to stop Cincinnati last night. That was going to be a Bengals win on the road. Unfortunately, he got injured, but that's nor here nor there. The NFL is going to investigate the Cincinnati Bengals for Joe Burrow not being on the injury report, despite him already having a prior existing injury to the wrist. Now, I feel like this is a training day Denzel type of situation. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Okay? The question is whether the NFL can prove that Cincinnati knowingly left him off the injury report despite knowing that he had an injury. We'll see what comes of that situation. But I love when social media gets people into trouble. I watch a lot of First 48, and I tell you guys this all the time. Detectives have gotten a lot smarter and lazier because they've been allowed to. Because a lot of times, criminals have gotten a lot dumber. Now, it's easy for me to say criminals have gotten dumber, but I just think there was no advent of social media. If you would have taken social media and put it back in the 80s, they would have been doing the same dumbass shit these criminals are doing today. Because when you out on the block, UGK had a great line where he essentially said, how the hell they gonna know I have it if I don't flaunt it? Right? Like, you got to let people know I'm stunting and I got it like that by letting people know I'm stunting and I got it like that. And criminals are always online for whatever reason. I can't explain it. But they love to incriminate themselves online. And the detectives are just going to Facebook now. Hey, that's the same shoes. That's the same outfit. And hey, there's a picture with the gun right there. Got him. Game over. Now I just got to find your dumb ass. I'll send the U.S. Marshals. I ain't even going to keep looking for you. I'm going to send the U.S. Marshals to find you. They'll track you down 2 states over and bring your ass back here. No worries. So I love it when the team's social media is embroiled in controversy, right? Because they were the ones that posted the video of Joe getting off the plane and he's got the little contraption on his hand. Why do we need to have footage of the team getting on the plane, getting off the plane? Every social media does this. Every team social media account does this now. Heading out to take care of business. And there's like 5 still shots of players getting on the plane. Why do we need that? We don't need that. I don't need to see the fit that they have on as they're getting on the plane. I don't need to see somebody listening to their headphones with that, very, very serious, concentrated look as they get on the plane. Keep that to yourself. Okay? That's too much. But that's what these social media accounts do because everybody's thirsting for clicks and likes. And I love it. I'm glad that the Bengals are embroiled in this controversy because of something their social media account did and then had to take down because, oh shit, Joe's got the contraption on and you can see it. Look, you'll never win on the internet because before you can yank it off, somebody's already screen captured it, reposted it, circled the picture of Joe with the contraption on, already posted that. Somebody's reposted that. You can snatch it down now. It's too late, though. That shit's out there. There's always an internet detective or sleuth out there ready to uncover the truth. You'll never win on the internet. The internet is undefeated for a reason. So when you get caught slipping, it's over. You can't undo that. And they got caught slipping. Now the question is, can the league prove it? It's not what you know. We know Joe was hurt already. Hence the contraption. We already know some shit was up. It's what you can prove. Can they prove it? Here's another example of this. If Joe doesn't get hurt, this isn't even a big deal, right? It's only because he got hurt. Now the NFL is like, hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Jalen Hurts has been injured for 3 weeks. He's been injured for 3 weeks. The Eagles have not put this man on the injury report at all. Don't tell me he hasn't been hurt. He might be healthy now. He had a bye week. Hope it's done him some good. I want him healthy. He wasn't healthy prior to the bye. Anybody that's watched the Eagles play, we played against him in week 8. He wasn't healthy. He wasn't healthy the week before that. That's when he injured the knee in week 7 against the Dolphins. We all saw it. Then he played Washington. He wasn't healthy. Then he played the Cowboys. We knew he wasn't healthy in that game. They never listed him on the injury report. Are the Eagles being investigated? No. And they shouldn't be. That's why just leave the Bengals alone. They've already dealt with enough. Their season is over. Why do you have to pile on top of them? They're already down. No need in kicking them now. It's over, bro. Just let it go. Okay? It's over. If Jalen Hurts had gone down, would they be investigating the Eagles? Clearly, he's compromised. He's been compromised. He hasn't shown up on the injury report. What are we doing here? Leave them alone, okay? Leave Zach Taylor alone. Leave the Bengals alone. Just let it be, okay? I love that the social media account got them hemmed up because social media accounts are stupid. They do the dumbest shit for clicks and likes. They're always chasing clout, trying to clown the team that they just beat in creative ways. That shit is dumb to me, by the way. Stupid as hell. Okay, but that's what we've come to in today's society. But at the end of the day, don't hurt the team over some stupid shit like that. It's bad enough their season is done at 5-5 with no Joe Burrow the remainder of the season. And I've already kind of alluded to the importance of a Joe Burrow. Like this division is locked up for the Steelers at this point. There's no way the Ravens at this point. There's no way the Steelers are going to beat them in this division, even though the Steelers have already beaten them once this season. The Steelers are offensively challenged, and I'm still baffled as to how they're set 6-3 right now, with a chance to go 7-3 with the Cleveland Browns Deshaun Watson list this weekend, with DTR getting his second career start. They've got a chance to go to 7-3. It's amazing what they've done this season, but the Ravens are going to win that division. And it's been a crazy week in that division because you go from the high of beating Baltimore in Baltimore with an improbable come from behind victory and getting to 6-3 and feeling like, hey, we got a shot in this division, to damn, our quarterback's out for the season. And if you're a Bengals fan, I alluded to this last night, 2 weeks ago, after you beat Buffalo on Sunday Night Football, you were thinking, here we go again. Yeah, here we go. Here we come. Y'all had y'all chance. We spotted y'all a few games early when Joe's calf was acting up. His shit is right now. Here we come. If you ain't get a far enough lead, that's your problem, not ours. We about to come start hawking down some cats. And they had got on that horse. And when they had won 4 straight, and they went to San Francisco and won, who wasn't looking around saying, uh-oh, here they come. They coming off the pace. Here they come. And then losing to Houston and then having that quick turnaround, losing to the Ravens, but not only losing the game, but losing your quarterback is just gut-wrenching. Gut-wrenching. And what this does is this opens up a direct path to the AFC Championship game for somebody not named Kansas City. Kansas City was going to be there regardless. Now the question is, who's going to meet them? Because I'm taking a healthy Joe Burrow over everybody else, over the field in the AFC, okay? I'm taking Joe Burrow over the rest of the AFC, not named Kansas City. Kansas City's already, go ahead and write Kansas. Matter of fact, I'm telling you right now, write Kansas City down in pen, marker, whatever you want. You don't have to worry about it. They'll be there. Even with a reduced offensive performance this season, they're not the same offensive team, but they've made up for it. Their defense is good. Really good. So they've made up for it. They'll be there. Don't worry about it. They'll be there. I was going to go ahead and write down the Bengals and Joe Burrow in pencil because that's where my money was going to be. With Joe Burrow going out, Josh Allen looking like he wants no parts of the playoffs this year, who's going to be in that opposite slot? Is it the Ravens? I don't know. It's got to be the Ravens, right? Time will tell. But this changes everything in the AFC because to me, the Bengals were the team you needed to be afraid of. They were the team that if you looked at the best of the best and you start lining up the records in the AFC and you look at Kansas City and you look at Baltimore and you look at Jacksonville and Miami, these are the teams that are up there, not pictured with Cincinnati. Hell, you could put up the playoff picture and Cincinnati was on the outside looking in, but I'm looking at all those teams and I'm like, to hell with all of y'all. I'm looking at the team with the B with the stripes on it and saying, hey, look out for them because they got number 9 and they got a defense. Look out for them because this is what they do every year. They start slow, then they get hot, then they get piping hot, and that usually includes a win over Kansas City late in the season, maybe Buffalo. They had already taken care of them. And then you get to 10 out of 11, 10 straight, and you're like, yeah, you don't really want any smoke with those boys. Then they come into your house like they did last year, went to Buffalo's crib, did them in, right? Went to Kansas City, had those boys on the ropes. I was looking at them. Now they're gone. AFC's open. I mean, the Chiefs are going to be there. Who's going to be there with them? If there was ever a season for Baltimore, this is it. You can't get it done this year. You can't find your way to the AFC Championship this year. I don't know when you're going to do it. There's no Buffalo, at least right now. I don't think firing Ken Dorsey is going to be the elixir for the Bills. But we'll find out. Maybe Joe Brady has a few tricks up his sleeve and all of a sudden this offense magically comes to life. We'll see. But you could be Josh Allen-less, Joe Burrow-less. The best defense, not named the Jets, is the Browns. And now they don't have their quarterback, so they may not be in the mix. Who's stopping you from getting to Kansas City? Or having them come to you, for that matter? What's stopping you from hosting the AFC Championship game? And if you don't have an opportunity, what's stopping you from going to Arrowhead, to play for the right to go to the Super Bowl. This has got to be the year for Baltimore. We'll see. It's been paved for them. The division that was so competitive just a week ago. This time last week, wow, man, that's going to come down to the wire. Now it's like, oh, shit, this is a runaway division win for the Ravens. All they got to do is keep Lamar Jackson upright. Easier said than done. I know. Burrow's injury changes everything, not just the fortunes of Cincinnati, but really the entire conference, not just the division, the conference. Big loss. Big loss. Let's get to social media maneuvers. I'm a midnight marauder. Y'all know what it is, man. And it's a lot that we can talk about. Y'all know how this works. If you want your comment to be read, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. If you want to jump to the front of the line to ensure that your comment is read, use the super chat function. We'll get to as many of these as possible. Don't want to hijack the show with a bunch of comments, but I will try to get to as many of these as we can get to, discuss them, and then get to my money picks of the week at the tail end of this program. I'm not off to a great start, not happy about that, but such is life. I couldn't predict Burrow getting injured. Had he stayed healthy, they were going to win that game. I will die on that hill. So I'm okay with the loss that I took on Thursday because unforeseen circumstances took place. But we'll get to that at the end of the show. I want to start off social media maneuvers by talking about Robert Griffin III. Can I do that for a second? Let's do that. So shout out to everybody that sent me this. I had at least 3 or 4 people send me this in my inbox, DM me. Like, yo, did you see this? Get your mans, yada, yada, yada. People added me. I had at least 3 or 4 more people at me. And I swatted it away the first 2 or 3 times. Like, man, get this shit out of my face. I don't care nothing about this. Then I was like, let me listen to what he had to say. You know, I ain't even going to do Bobby 3 Sticks like that. So I listened to what he had to say because people were clowning him. And, you know, this is not the first time he's done this. I didn't realize he was 33 years old, and he said it in the video. But, you know, here's the first thing I want to say about this. Because he actually didn't say anything reckless. I will say this. He threw Deshaun Watson like literally under the bus. I'm like, bro, seriously? You had to take a shot at him to elevate yourself? Like, that's so Bobby 3 Sticks, right? You still haven't changed in that regard. Like, take the knife out of that man's back already, will you? You want to be on their roster, but you just disrespected their starting quarterback. Like, you can't do that. Anyway, aside from that, he didn't say anything egregious, but all I could think about was, I remember back in like 2014 thinking to myself, he's going to look back on his career because he's going to be out of the league. Because you could see it then. He wasn't humble. He didn't think he did anything wrong. The Shanahans have, you know, Mike in particular has talked about that. And you could tell that while very talented, he felt like he was above the rest of the team. And some of that was Daniel Snyder's doing, making him feel like he deserved perks that no one else should receive. He's the quarterback. And you could tell there was a level of arrogance there that really exceeded his talents. And one day he was going to be remorseful at the fact that he didn't just take to coaching, because him and his dad, after the rookie season that landed him as the offensive rookie of the year, him and his dad decided, we're not running anymore. We don't want to run no more. We don't want to run XYZ plays. Take these out of the playbook. Tom Brady's not running. Aaron Rodgers ain't running. You're not neither one of those quarterbacks. You're not none of those dudes. Now, all of a sudden, 33-year-old Robert Griffin III wants to run. Hey, I can run. I still run a 4.3. And all I can think of is, bro, you didn't want to run back in 2013, 2014. You were too good. That was above you. Running? Me? Yeah, right. Brady's not running. Peyton Manning's not running. Aaron Rodgers ain't running. I shouldn't be running. Now he wants to run at 33. And so he's got a different level of, I think the perspective has definitely changed over the years. And that's what happens. You are humbled when your ass is escorted out of the league by a security guard and told to not come back. And if we catch you around here, it's going to be on. And now you want back in so desperately that you're out here using your platform to beg for an opportunity that you won't get, by the way. I find it somewhat, very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Fitting. That's the word I'm looking for. Very fitting that it's come full circle. Full circle, 360, all the way around. Anyway, he threw Deshaun Watson on the bus. He said, hey, Deshaun Watson went 14 of 14 in the second half of the game against the Ravens, but, he didn't really do anything. He just managed the game. He just ran around and managed the game. I'm like, He's like, I could do that. You didn't pay him $230 million to do that. I could do that. Like, okay, bro, pause, stop. You think they're going to sign you and that's your pitch? Shit on the $230 million guy that they signed and say, hey, you're wasting your money. I can do that. Great start to the presentation, Robert. Now, the part about mentoring DTR, and I don't know how much of an impact he had on Lamar Jackson, but he was there in the early development stages of Lamar, and he was there for like 3 years. So I can't dismiss that. I'd love to know, I'd love to hear from Lamar as to what kind of an impact Robert Griffin III had on him. And I'd like to think that he had some sort of an impact on him. And he's like, then he started, raving about how many offenses he had learned in a short amount of time, and he can digest an offense very quickly. And that's never been a problem. Like, you never struck me as a guy that was running offenses smoothly. And then he talked about being a game manager. When has Robert Griffin III ever been a great game manager? Hell, good game manager. So I thought the only thing that he said that had substance to it was he could help DTR, a young quarterback, mentor him, kind of show him the ropes, kind of give him, a perspective of a guy. And it's a little bit different. I think Robert could more so be a mentor to a guy that was drafted in the first round or highly drafted. And like, here's the expectations, the criticisms, all that comes with being the guy. Like, DTR is a 5th round pick. Like, he's just happy to be here. Like, you coming in and telling him, hey, this is what to expect, yada, yada. Like, I don't know if it resonates with him the same. It hit Lamar differently because Lamar is a 1st round pick. So the expectations and what everybody's going to be looking for you, everybody's going to be reaching and grabbing and trying to get a piece of you. Robert can attest to that. Nobody's reaching for DTR. Nobody's, Dorian, over here. He doesn't have to deal with any of that. He's just happy to be on an NFL roster, getting an opportunity to start. But I just found it funny that, and this is not the first time. Every time a quarterback goes down, he starts begging. I think when Lamar went down last year, he was begging. The year before that, he was begging. So it never ceases to amaze me. I'm like, bro, you got a nice, comfy job at ESPN. You're good at it. Just let it go. Let it go, bro. Let it go. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. See what y'all talking about. Got a super chat here. Greg Giants 10. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, hey, us Giants fans don't ask for much, but please just beat us. I know that's hard for your franchise to do, but we all believe in you. Be a part of us getting Caleb. So it's funny that you bring it up, Greg Giants. And yes, it has been a struggle beating you of late. I can't quite put my finger on why. You've been a trash organization just like us, but our level of trash and your level of trash have been a little bit different, but it's all the same when it's all said and done. And you've managed to find a way to make the playoffs last year, win a game. So there's that too. But even when you haven't been really good, the common thread is always Daniel Jones has to be on the field. And when he's not on the field, usually we beat you, which is why it was so surprising when we lost to Tyrod Taylor. I was more afraid of Tyrod, though, than I was Daniel Jones. I really didn't want any parts of Tyrod. And you saw why. Very effective in the first half of that game. Anyway, when you've had quarterbacks like Jake Fromm, we beat the brakes off of you, right? Like, it's not, we don't lose to you every time, no matter who's at quarterback. It's usually just Daniel Jones. But for some reason this year, we couldn't get it done the first time. But we're going to beat you on Sunday. And I'm not too concerned about that. We're going to beat you. It's just about, can we make this quick and painless, or are we going to struggle like we always do? But we're going to win this time. We're going to win this game. And while it pains me just a little to help you in your quest to get the number 1 overall pick or get as close as you can, so that if the Bears decide that they don't want to move on from Justin Fields, you can be the beneficiary, because whomever is at 1 is getting killed. Like I was talking to Bad Dog. We were texting back and forth, and I'm like, he's all in on Caleb Williams. He's a big Oklahoma Sooners fan. Of course, Caleb Williams started his career there. So he fell in love with Caleb Williams from day one at Oklahoma, and then he went to USC. He's kept up with his career. And so Bad Dog wants Caleb Williams bad, right? And for good reason. He's a really, really talented kid. That said, he said to me, with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, I'm like, and I stopped him right there, like, bro, you're not getting Caleb Williams 2nd overall. The Bears aren't going to stay at 1 if they're not taking a quarterback. They literally have the license to draft Caleb Williams in their hand, and they're going to give it to someone else. If they're not going to take him, somebody else. So you're going to have to essentially come up. And I'm pretty sure they would just rather do business with you, move back 1 spot, and take the second best player they believe the second best non-quarterback in the draft, or the first best non-quarterback in the draft. Essentially, they would love to do that, because Carolina isn't winning another game, and I don't think the Giants are winning another game, especially if you don't beat Washington. This is your one here. This is your one opportunity. You don't beat Washington, you won't win another game this season. And I don't see you beating us. But you're not getting Caleb Williams at number 2. You're going to have to trade up to 1, but that's why you traded Leonard Williams, because now you have the extra draft capital that you need to make sure you get the job done, right? And if I'm the Bears and I'm not taking Caleb Williams and I'm going to roll with Justin Fields, I'd rather just move back to number 2, let you come up to number 1, and now I still get what I perceive to be the best non-quarterback in the draft. And I'm going to also get a lot of draft capital from you, even just moving back 1 spot. But you're going to have to move up, because if you don't, somebody else is. So it really doesn't matter where you finish at this point, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. It doesn't matter. If you want Caleb Williams, you're going to have to get to number 1. That's what I'm telling you. Because either the Bears are going to take him themselves, or they're going to trade that pick to somebody who will take him. Just like last year. They had no interest in number 1 overall. They knew everybody was interested in the quarterbacks that were at number 1 and would be available. So they were going to mortgage off that pick. They were going to sell it to the highest bidder. The Panthers had DJ Moore. That's what they were interested in. That's who they traded with, to get out of number 1. I don't think they're going to do it this time around. I think they're going to move on from Justin Fields this year. He's got 7 games to convince them that he's the answer. I don't think he did enough before the injury. The numbers look really good, but if you've watched Justin Fields, he accumulated those numbers in 2 games. That was it. The Broncos game and the Washington game. He stunk the other 5 games or 4 games that he played in, whatever the number was. He stunk in the other ones. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But we'll do our part. You know what's funny though? I was looking at some of the Giants' social media because it was on my timeline because of Bad Dog. And apparently, John Mara is behind closed doors entertaining the thought of getting a stopgap quarterback and allowing Daniel Jones to heal because they still think he's the answer at the quarterback position. Now, again, that's rumor. That's hearsay. That has not been confirmed. That has not been reported, but that's floating out there, and I've seen it in more than one place. Now, if that is in fact true, and I hope Eli Manning has his ear because, Eli Manning, or both Manning brothers for that matter, but really Eli, Daniel Jones is a splitting image of Eli in terms of his personality, demeanor, and how he goes about business. He was at the Manning Passing Academy. They love him. He's essentially adopted Daniel Jones as his son. So Eli is capping for him right now. Not caping, capping for him. And I hope he's got the Mara's ear. I hope Eli still has a key to the door of John Mara and can go in at any time and say, hey, I don't think you can give up on this kid yet, man. He's really good. You guys saw it in 2022. You know this guy can be good. He wasn't healthy this year. The offensive line wasn't healthy. You got to give him another shot. And the Mars may be saying, hey, and we paying him a lot of damn money too. I would love it if you guys got the number 2 overall pick and didn't take a quarterback. That would be the most hilarious thing. And I am so here and ready for it. That would be the most hilarious thing I've seen in the draft in quite some time. And I'm here for all of it, by the way. So we'll do our part on Sunday. Well, I'm not looking to stand in your way. If you're trying to get all the way to 1, good luck, bless your heart. I'll try to do my part to help you get there. But I'm anxious to see what you do. Whether you get to 1 or you stay at 2. You stay at 2, you're not getting Caleb Williams. I'm just telling you that right now. So anyway, John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. John Perez writes, if Cincy violated player safety rules and if they continue to lose, could Zach Taylor lose his job? I don't think so. I mean, this is a guy that went to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row. No Joe Burrow. Obviously, they're not going this year, but had Burrow stayed healthy, you could argue they would be there again. I don't think you can fire Zach Taylor. I don't know if they'll get popped or not. If they do, we'll see what the league decides to do, what the punishment that is levied down will be. But I don't see Zach Taylor being, the scapegoat here for all of this. And I don't think he should be either. And I'm not necessarily the biggest Zach Taylor fan, but you can't argue with results. Can't argue with results. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, how come you're not high on Caleb being a franchise-changing talent? I think he's that guy personally. I mean, he's all right. I haven't been wowed by him. I've seen him. And look, when there's this redeeming quality for me with franchise quarterbacks. And the first thing that I'm looking for in a guy that I'm going to spend the number 1 overall pick that's supposed to be this transcendent talent is, I don't want you to have any controversy coming into the league. I don't want your dad telling me where you should or shouldn't go, or where my son doesn't or does want to go. Like Kyler Murray had red flags all over the place before he even set foot in the league. The weird ass interview he did with Dan Patrick and the, I'll go and play baseball and the threats and All of that shit turned me off. And to hear Caleb Williams already talking about, well, I don't want to play for this organization. I don't want to do this. This is where I would like to play. Like that's a major turnoff for me. Dad's already talking way too much for me. Any guy where dad gets overly involved, I got an issue with that. You've brought your son up. You've put him in this position. All right, let the process play itself out. You can be behind the scenes controlling everything. I shouldn't be hearing from you in the media. So that's already a red flag for me. It's a different day and age now with NIL deals. Get your bread. I'm not pushing back on that. You know, he's already doing a bunch of commercials, Dr. Pepper, Heisman House, you know, Taco Bell. He's doing all kinds of shit already. I'm not mad at that. Get your money. But that reminds me too much of Robert Griffin III. He was all about self-merchandising, and he was out here self-grandizing, making sure that, hey, no matter what happens, I'm straight. But again, if the opportunities are there, I'm not telling you to turn them down. There's just something off with this kid off the field. Up here, I think, that gives me a bit of pause. Talent-wise, he's got everything you're looking for. I think he's a little bit too cocky for my liking. Another thing that I don't really love is the best quarterbacks that I've evaluated that I felt like were going to come in, take the league by storm: Joe Burrow, Andrew Luck, and Trevor Lawrence. To me, the top two really, like, you take 3 steps after Andrew Luck, and then you get to Trevor Lawrence. For me, okay? For me, it was Andrew Luck was way up here, and there was nobody close. And then Joe Burrow just clipped him and got above him. Burrow was that good coming out of LSU. He was confident, but he wasn't cocky. You know, there was an aura about him, but he was also a team guy, right? Joe's got swag, but Joe's not out here doing a whole bunch of extra shit. Joe's dad has been around, been active in his life, a huge proponent for him transferring from Ohio State to LSU, but you don't hear about Joe's dad. He ain't in the forefront. He's in the background. Yeah, he controlling shit. You just don't know about it. You don't think Oliver Luck was all over, had his fingerprints all over Andrew Luck? This guy played in the league. You don't think Oliver Luck had his handprints all over what the hell Andrew was doing? Of course he did. But you didn't hear about the shit. He was in the background, playing his role the way you're supposed to play it. There's too many red flags for me. I'm gonna let that be somebody else's headache. I've lived through that as a fan of a team that drafted a guy, high profile. Dad wants to be out in front, making decisions, letting everybody know what his son will or won't do, already doing commercials. I've lived through that. I don't wish that on my favorite team again. Let somebody else deal with that shit. We just did that with a dude that wasn't even a quarterback, and that shit was a headache in Chase Young. I'm not trying to deal with that shit with a quarterback. And I've already dealt with it, and I already know what it looks like, and I already know where that leads. Robert Griffin III won a Heisman just like this kid did. Robert Griffin III is just as talented, the athlete that Caleb Williams is. He's probably got an even more live arm, this Robert Griffin III, than Caleb Williams does. I'm not telling you that he's got the peripheral vision and he's got the escapability. Robert was a track athlete, not like a football athlete. You know, he couldn't see the pressure. He couldn't feel the pressure. Caleb Williams can. He can maneuver in and out of the pocket. He's got that Mahomes type of ability. He's already said he's Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, whoa, buddy. You who? Prove it. Win a national championship. He can't do that shit. And I know he can't play defense either. I'm aware. I'm fully aware. He hasn't had a defense worth winning a national championship. I'm aware. At the end of the day, the kid is super talented. I'm not denying that. There's just a lot of red flags for me. I don't run through stop signs anymore. I don't run through red lights anymore. I'm done doing that. Did it with Robert Griffin III, did it with Chase Young. I'm not doing it anymore. But Giants fans can go ahead. He can be all yours. Have him. The bright lights and the big stage of New York City should be very appealing for a guy that wants all the commercials he can get his hands on. Knock yourself out. Have at it. I'm good. I'll pass. Give me the quiet guy that's to himself, that's stoic, that is a flat line. Give me that guy. And, a lot of people made a lot about him crying and this, that, and the third. That shit doesn't bother me any. That shit doesn't bother me one bit. Yeah, if you want to cry, go ahead and cry. I personally am glad my quarterback's not crying. But, hey, to each its own. I'm good. I'll just tell you that. Kid's talented, but talent doesn't make you the best quarterback in the league. Talent alone does. There's a lot of talented players that come through this league that don't pan out. And it's not because they're not talented. I'll just say that. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, let's see. Let's get to the comment section. What up, Niners fan? Bills fan 98 says, you were on the money with your McDermott take. Finally, people are seeing his flaws. By the way, we need to see your Thanksgiving IG pics. I'm going to have them for you. Look, when I slave over hours and hours of pastries and food, somebody's got to see this shit before I devour it. Okay. So you definitely are going to see. I normally put out a little video after I'm done of everything, my whole spread. I'm adding some extra dishes in this year. I got to find the time for it because this shit takes a lot of time, especially when everything's vegan. It's hard to skip steps. You know what I'm saying? There's not this or pre-made that. Everything's from scratch. So, but trust me, you're going to get the picks, bro. I appreciate that. And you know what? It's good to hear from Bills fans because I had one Bills fan in particular tell me I was following the national media. I didn't know what I was talking about. And it was a bad look for me. And I was like, well, first of all, I had to, read him his rights, first of all. And I don't like, wagging my finger at somebody and listing bullet points, but I had to do it to this dude because he came at me all wrong. Right. So, I was like, first of all, I don't watch any of these, national media shows. So I can't tell you what's being said. Every opinion you've ever heard from me came from me. This is how I feel. I watched the league. I've watched every Bills game. So I don't know what everybody else is saying. I'm just telling you what I've seen, how I feel. Second of all, has the offense been as good as it was under Brian Daboll? No. But that's the problem when you have a defensive-minded head coach married to a young young quarterback. This is the problem you run into. If that coordinator is any good, he's going to get a job. He's going to go off on his own and spread his wings and fly away. This is why most teams don't like hiring defensive-minded coaches because eventually you're going to run into that one coordinator who can't get it done, and it's going to F everything up. Whereas if you just got an offensive-minded coach who's running the show, i.e. Andy Reid with Patrick, you don't have to worry about it. They can keep going through different offensive coordinators. Andy Reid's still calling the plays. Even if they allow Eric Bieniemy to be the play caller, or now it's Matt Nagy calling the play, it's still Andy Reid. So nothing is really broken there when the offensive coordinator goes and gets a job. Sean McVay has given he's birthed 15 dudes jobs in this league. Zach Taylor being one of them. And we can go down the list of all these guys. Matt LaFleur, who did nothing as a coordinator in Tennessee. All these guys got jobs because they were connected to Sean McVay. So essentially what I'm telling you is it's a lot easier to replace an offensive coordinator when the head coach is an offensive-minded guy and it's his offense anyway, versus you got a defensive-minded coach who just pretty much says, hey, you handle the offense, I'll take care of the defense. And now with no Leslie Frazier, he's calling the defense. And and this is what happens when you're calling plays as a head coach. I prefer my coach to let somebody else call the plays so you can focus in on the finer granular details of the day in, day out operation, but also the game day operation, i.e. 12 men on the field. Again, that's supposed to be the special teams coordinator. I still haven't gotten a rock solid concrete answer on when that happens. Isn't the defense supposed to be able to make the substitution without having to rush? So I haven't heard anybody like clarify that for me. Is that not a thing? Did I miss something? Is there something in the rule book that states when a team is rushing onto the field to attempt a final field goal before each half, they can do it without the other team having a chance? Is that something that I need to be informed of? Somebody help me. Maybe I just need to at one of these former head of officiating guys, like a John Pereira or what's my man on Fox right now? I can't think of his damn name, but yeah, maybe I need to hit up one of these dudes so somebody can tell me something because I'm lost. But I just find it funny that all of a sudden Ken Dorsey is the scapegoat. The Bills offensively, they've hit every metric that you need to hit to be successful. The defense has been really the catalyst for them losing games this season or almost losing games this season. And no, the offense hasn't been great. It could be better, right? I'm not suggesting that this offense has been top shelf like the Chargers, for instance. It's not like the Bills scored 38 and the defense gave up 41 like the Chargers just did to the Lions. That's not what you're doing, but still, you've performed well enough to not be 5-5 offensively. It wasn't Ken Dorsey's offense that allowed Mac Jones to drive the length of the field and score the touchdown at the end of that Patriots game. It's not Ken Dorsey out here. And I talked about that Broncos game in particular. He didn't throw the pick that went through Gabe Davis's hands. He didn't throw the pick that Josh Allen decided, I'm going to throw with the defender right there in coverage right before the half. I'm going to try to fit it in there anyway and throw the pick. He just called the play. He didn't tell Josh Allen to throw the damn pick. He didn't tell James Cook to fumble on the very first offensive snap of the game. But yet it's his problem. Somebody's got to be the scapegoat. Somebody's got to take the weight. McDermott ain't taking that shit. Somebody's got to take it. But that tells me he's on the hot seat. I've never seen a coach fire another coach in a season that isn't lost unless you already know shit, seat's getting hot over here. I got to deflect some of this off of me because it's getting hot over here, man. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Vincent Coe writes, check out Boye Mafe. He's been decent for us. I don't need to check him out. You know I watch these games, man. 7 sacks for Boye Mafe, 7 straight games. Seahawks record, been tearing shit up. He's been excellent. And, he was one of those dudes, raw as the day is long, coming out of Minnesota. And I was like, okay, we'll see about this. That's cute. And he's been excellent. I actually like your defensive line. I think they're well coached. I think they rush as one very effectively. And adding Leonard Williams to that mix is going to make them even more dangerous. So, yeah, I know what he's up to. Vincent Cole, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Vincent Cole writes, any draft prospects from Notre Dame I should check? I mean, not really. Obviously, we got the best tackle, one of the best tackles, Joe Alt, in the draft. But outside of that, I mean, there's not a lot of guys that necessarily move the needle per se this year. Not like last year where you had, a bevy of guys coming out and you felt like, okay, 2 or 3 of these dudes could go in the first, 2 rounds or so. We'll have a couple guys drafted, but none of them really stand out to me per se. We got a couple of guys, I think, next year's draft that'll be really good. A cornerback in particular, and a couple of other players. Some of the, 1 or 2 of the offensive linemen will be ready to come out. And we always are producing a tight end. I'm still waiting for that next guy to stand up and say, hey, I'm him. But I always tell people, if you're shopping at the Notre Dame store, you can shop for offensive linemen, you can shop for tight ends. I'd actually advocate for that. Go shopping for an offensive lineman, for a tight end. Be careful if you're shopping for a defensive lineman. I tell you to shop on the clearance rack for that, but I won't tell you to not go there. Just be careful. Anything else that you're shopping for, be wary. That's all I'm gonna say to you. Be wary. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. John Perez writes, hearing all this stuff about CY99, it sounds like his relationship with the franchise wasn't that good to begin with. Even if he was doing his own thing, I don't know if he ever liked Ron from the start either. You know what? I am actually really not interested in Chase Young anymore. So you know how many people have sent me information on Chase Young prior to this whole situation, and then after kind of confirming what they were saying? I'm not going to put too much of this information out, but I had a lot of information that I could have used, but they was like, hey, don't say anything. I just wanted to tell you. So I didn't say anything. And I'm not going to say anything because it really doesn't matter at this point. But from what I've gathered, he never wanted to be in Washington. He wanted to go to New York. He wanted to go to the Giants. I'll just say that. At this point, I don't care. I really don't care. He's not here anymore. I got no ill will towards him. Some guys don't want to play at home. He didn't want to play at home. Some guys know who they are and they know they need to get away. And he was one of those guys that felt like he didn't need to be at home. Too many distractions, too many people pulling at him. He didn't want to have to deal with it. And so he got his wish. I'm happy for him. I hope he flourishes in San Francisco. Let's see. Raiders Lifer 45 writes, I remember watching your last draft live stream. You said you would make lemon pound cake. We need to hold you to those comments. Give us the picks. I had forgot that I said that, but you know what? Boy, I could go for some lemon pound cake. I think I'm going to do that. I was thinking about, man, I need to add in a new dessert. So anybody that's been following me knows what I do. So my best dishes are my my sweet potato casserole, or yams, right? They're yams, but it's a casserole. You've seen pictures, you've seen videos. If you haven't, just go to my IG. It's there. I had a video last year or 2 years ago that I posted. Again, it's there. So that's the smash. People come from far and wide to crush that. I get mad because as good as it is, I want more. And then the third day after Thanksgiving, it's all gone. And I'm like, what the bro? But you can't help it. It's good. I got people who don't even like yams eating it, right? So there's that. And then it's really just a bunch of pastries, because I told you I don't get to eat a lot of sweets now that I'm vegan during the course of the year. So Thanksgiving is when I load up on the sweets. Really, from Thanksgiving to Christmas, I just go OC on the snacks. And so I make my own cranberry sauce. So I do that. That's usually the first thing that I make. I make the yams. And then I make my carrot cake. I make apple pie. And I make all that from scratch, even the sauce that goes inside. I'm going to use some different apples. I love opal apples. Oh, my God. Last year, they were out of season for some reason, it felt like. I couldn't find them. Only place that had them was Whole Foods. I found some. I probably need to go pick some fresh ones from a Whole Foods, but I got a bag. I just think I'm going to use these. It's probably going to make my apple pie even more bomb this year. I think I'm forgetting something. Feels like I'm forgetting one or two things. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm going to add lemon pound cake to the equation. I'm glad you reminded me, because I could go for some of that. I can go for some of that. You will get pictures. Trust me. Loser writes, who do you think is going to play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship with Burrow done for the year and the Bills looking really suspect? I said it's got to be the Ravens, right? I mean, I won't count out Miami. I won't count out Baltimore, or excuse me, I won't count out Miami or Jacksonville. That's who I meant to say. But right now, it has to be Baltimore, right? It's got to be Baltimore that you're looking at and saying, hey, this is the team. But I won't count out Miami. I won't count out Jacksonville either. But those are the only teams with no Burrow and no Allen. There's no other quarterback that strikes fear in my heart that I feel can win 2 games and get to the AFC Championship game. There's no other quarterback other than Lamar Jackson. So, and Lamar may only have to win 1 if they can get the 1 seed. So right now, it's got to be Baltimore. You would think. Greg Giants 10 writes, I'll be here win or lose on Sunday for the smoke. I hope you and your fan base can enjoy beating us. Take this free gift. You know what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take this offering, this love offering that you're giving up on Sunday. And I hope we receive it, first of all, because don't put anything past Ronald and company. Okay. Don't put anything past them. But I'm hoping that this love offering that you guys are providing sparks a 6-game losing streak to Washington, because it's a different sheriff in town now. His name's Sam Howell. Shit's about to change. I can't stress that enough. The loss that we had to you guys last time was the best thing that happened to us this season. Honestly, I'm serious. There's a lot of bad shit that's happened. That loss sucked. I wish we could have still won the game and had everything that happened, but still come out victorious, because that was the best lesson. I'll say that. Not the best thing that happened to us. It was the best lesson that's been learned all season. From Sam, our offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, changes were made to the offensive line because of that game. So much good came of that game offensively. So I don't think there's any turning back now. It's only up from here. And you're going to have to deal with Sam for a number of years. And hopefully this win is the start of Sam ending up being, we'll look back and be like, damn, Sam's 6-1 against the Giants. And the first game was his only loss. I'm hoping that's what this is the start of. We'll see. But I appreciate any gifts. I don't turn down free gifts, right? And not all gifts are free. They may tell you it's free. Not all gifts are free. This one won't be free. It'll come with a string attached, but I'll take it. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, Carson Wentz got signed. RG3 to the Browns? Nah, I don't think so. I don't think they're interested. Remember, he played for the Browns before. Now, I get it. This is a different Cleveland Browns organization. I think it might even be a different ownership group. Definitely a different GM. Different time. I think when he went to Cleveland, he was still a young man, probably like 26, 27 years old. He's 33 now. Like, they have zero interest in him. He hasn't played in the league in, 3-4 years? Like, they're good. They're good on Robert Griffin. I think COVID was the last year he played with the Ravens, where Lamar was out and he had to play on that crazy COVID game against the Steelers, and he vomited all over himself. And then after the game, he talked about how that was his team and, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, bro, you still are living in La La Land, aren't you? You are delusional. And after that, the Ravens are like, okay, you've been on our bench long enough and you're not serving a purpose. It's always great when you don't have to play as a backup. And then when you finally get in and you stink, that's when the organization is like, what are we doing here? Why is this guy even here? So I think it's 2020 was his last year in the league, if I'm not mistaken. So They're good on him. Wentz, at least Wentz was in the league last year. So, he's not getting a chance. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, couple more things. What's a good dessert recommendation for Turkey Day? And what's Gibson's future in Washington? His stats are very blah this year. A good dessert recommendation, I mean, just depends on what your taste buds are like. I mean, do you like sweet? Do you like something that's a little bit more subdued, not as sweet? I'm a sweet guy. I'm guilty as charged. I love things that are super sweet. Like my carrot cake, I make the cream cheese frosting that goes on it, the icing that goes on it. I make that from scratch. And it's super sweet. I love it, right? So that might not be your speed. So the cake itself isn't super sweet, the carrot cake. I try not to make it overly sweet because the icing I know is going to be sweet, right? But that might not be your speed. It might be too sweet for you. If you're not a super, like my wife, she doesn't like things that are super sweet. So that carrot cake doesn't really do a lot for her. She loves the texture. She actually loves the cake, but the icing is just too much for her. But for me, it's everything, So it just depends on what you're looking for, because you can't go wrong with apple pie. You can't go wrong with carrot cake. You can't go wrong with sweet potato pie. You can't go wrong. I'm a cheesecake guy. You can't go wrong. That's what I made. Upside down pineapple. That's another thing that I make. That's what I made last year, last 2 years actually. They're called but it's not pineapple upside down cake. It's called and that's sort of like a pound cake. That kind of kills two birds with one stone. So maybe I don't need to make the lemon pound cake now that I'm thinking about it, because I kill that stuff. It's called pineapple something bars they're called. I think, hold on. I got my backup mobile device, and I think this actually has a lot of the recipes. I keep this on me at all times. So let's see. It is. That's not it. It is. Here it is. It is called grilled pineapple shortcake bars. That's what it's called. Grilled pineapple shortcake bars. That's what it's called. So that's kind of my lemon. It's not lemon pound cake per se, but it gives you the pound cake feel. Oh my God. When it's cold, I eat that shit for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, bro. Like, it's ridiculous. And it's not super sweet, but it's sweet enough in the little icing that goes on the top. And then you caramelize the pineapples in a little sauce, and then you cook them, and then you just throw them all over the top, and you throw the salt. Oh my God. My mouth is watering right now as I'm talking about it. That would be another one that I would tell you is a must, right? Is the grilled pineapple shortcake bars. Stupid. Pineapple upside down cake, you cannot go wrong with that. That's a classic. That's a staple. And that's my take on pineapple upside down cake, are the grilled pineapple shortcake bars. I always like to be different. Gibson's future, I think he's gone, personally. I don't think the next regime, again, guys like Gibson are going to be the first guys that are cut out of the equation when the next group comes in. Because remember, this happens every single time a new GM comes into an organization. He's going to turn the roster over. So guys like Antonio Gibson, with no contract left, with no ties left to the organization, they're not on the hook for any money. Those guys are gone immediately. So the James Smith-Williams, the Casey Tuills, the Antonio Gibsons, those guys, I think Logan Thomas's deal is up, if I'm not mistaken. He might have one more year left. But excuse me, those guys that they have no more contract left, those guys are gone. They won't be back. It's the guys with like 1 year left, like Diami's going to have 1 more year left. Those are the guys that are going to be on the fringe. And if they draft a wide receiver and it becomes, the guy they drafted or Diami, it's going to be the guy they drafted over Diami Brown, right? Because that's how you build the roster if you're the new GM, is you want your guys. It's almost like a college coach coming in and he's got the old recruits here and he's dying to get his guys in there. And it's not going to happen overnight. But if it's a choice between a guy that I went out here, I beat the pavement for, and I got him to, as a 5-star, I got him to commit versus a guy that's been here 3 years, I'm going to play the freshman if he's good enough. I'm going to play the freshman if all things are equal. And the difference is one's a freshman and one's, a senior. I'm playing my freshman because he's the guy that I went out and I got. And that's the same thing here. So Gibson's good as gone. He's a solid commodity, but I don't think he's one that the next group is going to value enough, like a Cam Curl per se, that I think they're going to value when they come in here, or Kendall Fuller for that matter, that they're going to value and say, hey, we want this guy back. And I think Gibson is one of those dudes you can just kind of move on from and not feel any type of way about it. So we'll see. I like Gibson. I don't love him. And I don't think the next group will either. So I don't see him being in Washington. That's my guess. I could be wrong. Louie Lou. Mike Jank. What's going on? Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, who you pick for Monday Night Football? You're going to find out a little bit later on in the show. I got my money picks of the week. You know what it is. You probably already know if you went to the master sheet. You already seen who I picked, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Jay Black, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jay Black writes, we waiting on the invite, Louie Crocker. LOL. Hey, I tell you what, when I finally get out the house, because I told you one of the big things that I had planned, and if I'm going to do it, my wife is on me about this all the time. Like, if you're going to do it, you need to start doing it now. You need to start planning now. I wanted to have a draft party. And I was going to do that in 2020. And then COVID hit and everything got shut down. And so for that 2021 draft, rather, I was going to do it that year and everything was still janky during the 2021 draft. I think that was the year that Roger Goodell did the draft from his house in his basement with the chair. And, Mike Vrabel had the crazy shit going on in his house. And so nobody was out during that draft, if I'm not mistaken. That was the 2021 draft, if I'm not mistaken. So I've never recovered from that in terms of getting out. I need to rewire my brain to get out. And what I'll do is whenever I finally get out, I'm going to bake some of this stuff. It won't be all of it, but I'll bake some of this stuff. Maybe I'll take a poll as to what you guys would like to taste the most. And I'm going to make it. I'm going to bring it with me, maybe 2 or 3 dishes, bring them out, let y'all try it. So y'all know when I tell y'all this is what the kid is up to, y'all know it ain't no games over here, man. Everything's real out here in the field. Okay. Anyway, let's see where we are. I think we were up this way. Greg Giants 10 said, so yes, we're here with Niners fan. Says, I'll tell you again, Lou, if you have any free time, watch Michael Penix against Oregon State this weekend. He's really damn good. And I've seen Michael Penix. Look, all of these young boys that are coming out, I just need to watch them. And here's my problem. Saturdays are like sacred for me. I don't watch a lot of college football because it takes away from family time for me. I ask a lot of my family from Monday to Friday. Shit, from Sunday to Friday. I ask a lot of my family. And generally, I try to cut everything off from Friday at 6 to, Sunday at 1. I try to cut everything off and just spend time with my family, and whatever that looks like, whether it's just sitting on the couch and watching TV with my wife, taking the kids to the park. My son Tomorrow is his first day of flag football. So like Saturdays are kind of just like I want to spend time with my family because I do so much during the course of the week. And so I don't really get a chance to spend as much time with them as I would like. These are the sacrifices that you make for what you want. But family time is important. So I don't watch a lot of college football. It's just part of the contract that I signed with myself. So when it comes to the draft, that's when I hunker down and I start combing through games. And then, everything that you're telling me will probably be validated when I go watch Michael Penix and I'll go, you know what? You were right. This guy's really good. And I've watched his career. I know about him all the way going back to when he was at Indiana. And he was going at it with Justin Fields. And they should have beat the damn Ohio State Buckeyes at the Horseshoe. I've followed the trajectory of his career. I know he's gotten better and better and better. Same with Bo Nix. He's not the same Bo Nix from, Auburn, but I'm like, he's still Bo Nix, though. I watched a little bit of him last week, and I'm like, he made a throw, and I go, that's a damn good throw, Bo. But to me, he's still Bo Nix. I don't know if I can trust him. At what point, though, do you stop making him pay for past sins and give him an opportunity to show you that he's a changed man? And that's the battle that I fight sometimes with some of these young quarterbacks, But anyway, I digress. Abel Ambrosio, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Double A, writes, your favorite cheesecake flavor? Oh, so before I was a vegan, I used to love, obviously, I told you I love cheesecake. So naturally, I love the Cheesecake Factory. There's a cheesecake there called Craig's Crazy Caramel Cheesecake. Abel. Cheesecake so good, make you want to smack your mama and your grandmama. I would go there, not for the food, but just to go get 2 slices of that. Swear that I wouldn't eat one, crush one in the car before I even made it home, put the other one up, and would have to talk myself out of a 1 o'clock in the morning trip to the fridge to eat the other one. Nah, man, that's for tomorrow. Let's see. Raiders Lifer 45 writes, who is your favorite right now to come out of the NFC and AFC? I think it's the Eagles and Chiefs, but the Niners look good too. I'm still on the Niners. I never got off. I was a little worried, I'm not going to lie, but my thing was always, if they struggled with Debo and Trent in the lineup, then you got me. My hands are up. You got me. But as long as those two are out now, see, the thing that scares me with them is they're so reliant upon those two. They're a different team. They changed the identity of that offense. Like, to me, Debo is a crutch for Brock Purdy. And to me, Debo, I talk about this all the time with number 1 wide receivers and how they properly slot everybody else. I still think the most natural receiver on that team is Brandon Ayuk. But when we talk about the Niners offense, Debo Samuel is the number 1 wide receiver. He's the guy that you say, hey, we got to make sure we're aware at all times of where 19 is on the field. And so when he's available and he's out there, you have to know where he is at all times. And if you key in on him, now Ayuk is getting one-on-one and he's killing you. Without Debo, now you're able to key in on Ayuk, and you still have Kittle, right? You still have Christian McCaffrey. You still have other weapons. But now it's like this, the identity of that team, because the beauty of the 49ers, and this is what I always tell people, is that, and that's, you could also say the same thing with the Eagles, is they can beat you with finesse or they can beat you with brute force and power. And that's a trait that few teams have in their arsenal. Like, for instance, Washington, we can't beat you with brute force. We only know finesse. Like, we don't know how to do that. And that's a lot of teams in the NFL. We're not alone. Like the Browns, they can't beat you with finesse. They only know how to beat you with a blunt object. Same with the Tennessee Titans, which is why it's not working anymore. All right. Nobody's afraid of their blunt object anymore. As a matter of fact, they hit people with it and they snatch it out of him. Give me that shit, man. Stop hitting me. The hell's wrong with you? That's where the Titans are right now. Right. And the Browns may find themselves there soon because of their quarterback position. But even without Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford has come in and he's just picked up the baton and he's kicking people's ass in the run game. Why? Because they can beat you with blunt force trauma to the head with the run game. But they can't do it with finesse. The 49ers can do it with finesse, or they can do it with blunt force trauma, right? With brute force. They lose the brute force aspect when there's no Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams. That scares me a bit because you're literally 1 or 2 injuries away from this team not being a Super Bowl contending team. But with those two in the lineup, I still think they're the team to beat in the NFC. Because the Eagles, I don't buy what they're selling defensively. I don't, maybe it changes. Maybe they get more comfortable after the bye week. I don't know. But from what I've seen the first, 9 weeks from them of this season, I'm not buying what they're selling defensively. They're going to have to prove to me that they've got a Super Bowl caliber defense because last year they had a Super Bowl caliber defense. So for me, AFC, until somebody dethrones them, it's the Chiefs. I thought the team that would be able to do that was Cincinnati. They're no longer available. Baltimore is capable, but I don't trust them. I don't trust them. You lose to Indianapolis. You lose to Pittsburgh. You lose to the Browns. And not that the Browns suck, and that's family business, and same with Pittsburgh, but those are games you should have won. You had Cleveland, I'll let that one slide. A lot of crazy shit happened in that game. And Cleveland's a good football team. Pittsburgh, I'm like, bro, seriously? How? And not to shit on Pittsburgh, they're 6-3, but you gotta win that game. And the Indy game? Are you kidding me? Like, there's this level of distrust with Baltimore that I just can't shake. And I've seen them be dominant in the regular season only to get to the postseason and the shit not work. Now I'm trying to get past that. And again, like I said, with some of these draft picks, same thing applies. I'm human. I'll admit I often make people pay for past sins. And sometimes you just got to be able to say, hey, shit's different now. Greg Roman's no longer the offensive coordinator. Okay? It's a new day. It's a new show. They got more weapons than ever before. It's different. Todd Monken is running that offense. Let 2019 go when they were the number 1 seed overall and got bounced in their first game by Tennessee. Let that shit go. It's hard for me to let it go. But I need to. Maybe this Ravens team is different. We'll see. My money's on Kansas City in the AFC and San Francisco in the NFC until otherwise notified. Bills fan 98 writes, who's the top 5 QBs in the league right now? Is Allen still there, or has this season destroyed his reputation? I don't think it's destroyed his reputation, but it's got people checking their list, looking at their list and checking it twice. Right? It's got people over here acting like Santa Claus now and looking at that list and checking it twice. So to me, the value of a quarterback is if you polled 32 franchises and said you could have these quarterbacks, would all 32 be like, yeah, let me get that dude? I think the answer is still yes with Josh Allen. There may be 1 or 2, GMs who want to make a statement. No, you can't turn it over like that and be my quarterback. Kick rocks. Okay. I don't think there's a team out there that's passing up the talent that is Josh Allen. Absolutely not. I still think he's a top 5 quarterback in this league. So in no particular order, I think it's right now Burrow, Mahomes, Hurts, Allen and Jackson are probably your top 5. Herbert, man, it's hard for me to leave him off this list, but Lamar healthy, I think you got to put him above Justin Herbert, barely, you know. But Herbert would be right on the outside looking in of that group. You could easily sub somebody out and sub him in if that tickles your fancy. But I think those would be the 5 guys that I felt I would feel comfortable going into just about any game with and saying, hey, I got a good chance of winning. Beat me. Here's my quarterback. I don't think I left anybody out. I hate these lists when I don't have a chance to like sit down and comb over all 32 teams because I always feel like I'm leaving somebody out. But I feel pretty confident. Those are the best of the best at the quarterback position in the NFL right now. Just doing a quick scan. NFC East, NFC South, NFC North. Jared Goff's playing really well. He's not in the top 5. He's not in the top 10. I'm just saying he's playing really well. NFC West. Okay. AFC East, AFC South, AFC North, and AFC West. So yes, feel confident about that list. That would be my top 5. Again, no particular order. But for me, I think Mahomes and Burrow should be the top 2 on your list, everybody's list. But again, it's preference we're talking about. So if you're an Eagles fan, Hurts is higher maybe than Burrow, right? Both been to 1 Super Bowl, both came up short. So the argument is there. Cool, whatever, right? For me, Mahomes, take a few steps. Burrow, probably right now, Hurts 3rd. Probably Lamar 4 and Allen clinging to 5 right now. But I'm taking Josh Allen over every other quarterback in the league that's not above him, including Justin Herbert. So for some people, this season is definitely damaged his stock. I know what kind of look, this is who he's always been. He's not going to change. So figure it out. Right? Figure it out. Get him more weapons so he has to take less risk. Protect him better. All of that good stuff. Call more runs. All of it. Figure it out. But those talents don't come along every day. It's like trying to put a muzzle on Brett Favre. Nobody ever tried to do that. Oh, he's so much fun to watch. Yeah, he also is the career interceptions leader in NFL history. But nobody ever talks about that. Oh, Brett Favre, so much fun to watch. Josh Allen's a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, he turns it over. He's still damn good. Raiders lifer 45. Right. Lou, I disagree with excuses for Bryce Young. Hurts, Schultz have similar contracts. Mingo is a 2nd rounder and Dell is a 3rd. Thielen, Nico, C are equal. Stroud has Noah Brown looking elite. That's a faulty argument if I've ever heard one before. So Hurts and Schultz are not the same players. Okay, let's not even go there. Okay, nobody ever thought about franchise tagging Hayden Hurst. Stop. Okay, stop. They're not the same. Mingo is a 2nd rounder. Mingo stinks. I wouldn't have spent, just because he's a 2nd rounder doesn't mean he's good. I wouldn't have spent a 2nd rounder on him. That was their prerogative. They thought they were getting A.J. Brown Jr. Nobody else did. He can't separate. They're figuring that out the hard way. Tank Dell is way better than him. Anybody that knows, I was talking about Tank Dell last year, and I said, Tank Dell is an animal. He was my favorite receiver in the draft last year. One of my favorite players in the draft, period. Don't compare the two of them. Please don't. That's not fair to Tank Dell. That's a disservice to him. Okay. And Nico Collins and Thielen, are you kidding me? What is Nico Collins? 25, 26 years old? Adam Thielen's 55 years old. Are you kidding me right now? Seriously. And again, Thielen is still producing. Like, I'm actually proud of Adam Thielen for doing what he's doing this year. But he's Adam freaking Thielen at this point of his career. Come on, man. Give me a break. Now, Noah Brown playing the way he's playing has been a revelation. I would put that on CJ Stroud. But sometimes guys like Noah Brown, it's about opportunities. This might have existed all along, and he just wasn't getting opportunities. It's probably more CJ Stroud, right? But come on now. Also understand, they're drawing some beautiful plays up. Noah Brown's, it's not like Noah Brown is climbing a ladder and putting his nutsack on dudes' helmets and making these crazy, extraordinary plays. This dude's wide ass open. CJ Stroud is rolling out to his left, stop planting and throwing all the way back across the field to his right. And Noah Brown is uncovered. They're going heavy play action fake. Noah Brown's running a deep over route. Nobody's in sight. He's catching it, running up the sideline, getting a block and scoring a touchdown. Like, it's not like Noah Brown is out here, you know, beating physical, tough man-to-man coverage and making plays. I'm not demeaning what he's doing. They're drawing. What I'm giving credit to is Bobby Slowick and what they're doing offensively to scheme guys open. That's what I'm doing. And CJ Stroud isn't missing. You got to give credit to CJ Stroud. He's playing his ass off. But I guarantee you, if you put Bryce Young in that offense with the weapons that they have, and oh, by the way, the Texans have invested on their offensive line. Their highest paid player is their left tackle, Laramie Tunsil. Okay? They spent draft capital on that offensive line multiple times. The Panthers have not. So it's a totally different setup. The Panthers were built to do what they did last year under Steve Wilks, which is run the football, be physical. They were set up for that. And then they blew that up, brought in all these different pieces, and tried to go to a pass-centric offense surrounded by the quarterback, right? And that's not what they're set up to do. The Texans have all these pieces, and you know what's crazy is I still don't think the Texans are a finished product, far from it, but I still don't think they have a great roster. But they've done wonders with what they do have. Nobody at the beginning of this season said, oh, they got Noah Brown, they got Nico Collins, Tank Dell. A lot of people didn't even know who the hell Tank Dell was or is. They've taken the pieces that they have and they've gotten the most out of it. I have to give them credit for that. But you know what that's called? Coaching. Let's not overlook coaching because that matters. Look, I'm not telling you Bryce Young's been good because he hasn't. But I guarantee you if you dropped CJ Stroud into Carolina, he'd be struggling too right now. I guarantee he'd be struggling. To the extent of Bryce Young, maybe not. I can't say that it would be the same. I can tell you this. Bryce Young beat CJ Stroud's ass. Aha! Aha! I'll leave it at that. Leon Polk writes, this may be a really big hypothetical thought, but what if the Cardinals traded Kyler Murray for the number 1 pick and drafted Caleb Williams? Why would somebody trade for Kyler Murray when they could just draft Caleb Williams? That's what you got to ask yourself. Why would you trade for Kyler Murray's contract? He's already sustained an injury. He's already been put out. It's already been put out there in the media that he doesn't study. Why would you trade for all of that when you can just draft a guy and have him on a rookie contract? I mean, these are the things you have to ask yourself. And I know you said it's a hypothetical, but hypothetically speaking, it has to make sense for the Arizona Cardinals. right? Which it does if they were done with Kyler Murray, but it'd have to make sense for the Bears. So the Bears want to get out of the Justin Fields market to get into the Kyler Murray market. That doesn't make any sense for the Bears. So hypothetically, I don't think that has a lot of legs to stand on, or any really for that matter. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think Kyler Murray, much like Justin Fields, is auditioning for the Cardinals. Because again, just like in Chicago, Ozenfort, the new GM in Arizona, he has no ties to Kyler Murray. He didn't select him. He may not even like Kyler Murray. So he has to prove to them his worth. If he can't, then what's stopping Arizona from, with the 5th pick in the draft, let's say that they end up 3-14 this year. What's stopping Arizona from drafting Drake May or Michael Penix Jr. or Bo Nix? What's stopping them from saying, hey, we still cool, we still down with you, Kyler, but we just going to take this dude just in case? And then a month after the draft, they trade Kyler Murray to the Atlanta Falcons. What's stopping them from doing that? So, again, don't know. Or hell, if they draft a quarterback, they probably would trade Kyler Murray on draft night to the Atlanta Falcons, because I want compensation right now. I'm not waiting until next year to get the compensation for Kyler Murray. I want it now. Just like the Lions, once they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, I need my compensation right now for your boy from Georgia, the running back. I can't think of his name. DeAndre Swift. I want my compensation now. To hell with next year. I want that shit now. We'll see. It's a lot of interesting decisions will have to be made this year. A lot of interesting decisions. Let's see. Joe Rockhead writes, if Bieniemy is out with Ronald and company, who do you think has a comparable offense that can make Sam's transition relatively smooth? Nobody. You'd have to get one of the guys off the Kansas City tree. Nobody throws the football more than the Chiefs do. So we're number 1 in the league in terms of passing attempts this season by a mile. You know who's second? I don't have to tell you. You already know who's second. There's nobody else doing it quite like those guys. So Bieniemy, I think, has kind of went a little too far, if we're being honest. Like, I know Andy Reid is, beat into his head. You got to throw it, you got to throw it, you got to throw it. But shit, even they run the football. Even Mahomes hasn't thrown. And I get it. Mahomes has a bye. Even before Mahomes had the bye and they had the same amount of games played, Sam still dwarfed Patrick Mahomes in terms of pass attempts. So I think Bieniemy's taking it a bit too far, honestly. But there's nobody else doing it like these guys in terms of, how they call their offense and how things are going. So I don't really know if there is a comparable offense out there right now. I'll just say that if you want to keep continuity for the sake of Sam, you'd have to hope that, again, if you're getting rid of EB, then you're probably getting rid of Tavita Pritchard, but that would be the hope. You'd have to go get somebody off the Kansas City tree. But again, here's what you got to keep in mind, right? Here's what you got to keep in mind. If you want to do this the right way, and all I've heard throughout this process is Josh Harris and company, specifically Josh Harris and what he's done in past stops in other endeavors, whether it be the NHL, NBA, whatever, is he's always gone about it in a hierarchy way, meaning I'm going to start at the top, hire a guy that I believe in, let that guy hire the next guy, let that guy hire the rest of the guys, and so forth and so forth. So checks and balances, putting guys in place, and letting people that I trust do their jobs without me being a helicopter over top of them. So if that theory holds true, we should be hiring an actual general manager. That general manager will then determine who the head coach is. That head coach will then be allowed to pick his staff. And whether that coach decides, I want Eric Bieniemy to be my offensive coordinator or not, remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Vincent Coe, writes, would you go on a cherry diet, all cherries related food? I know you don't like them, for a week, or go back to a meat diet for a week. Oh, I do the cherry diet. First of all, I don't dislike cherries. Let's set the record straight on that. I don't dislike cherry. I dislike cherry flavored items because they don't get the taste right. You ever tasted black cherry Kool-Aid? You ever tasted cherry Kool-Aid? Disgusting. It's not how cherries taste. You ever had a cherry before? You ever had? Okay, so there are different types of cherries, obviously. We all have had the cherries that they have on pineapple upside down cakes. They're like Marshmallow cherries, the red ones, the bright red cherries that you get in a little jar. Okay, so those have a distinct taste. And then the actual cherries, which I love, that I buy fresh cherries out of the market, and there's different types. You got the oh man, why am I blanking on the name? The red and yellowish cherries. I don't know why I can't think of the name of those. Then you have the sweet red cherries, right? Rainier, that's what they're called. Rainier cherries are the red and yellow, orangish type cherries. They're a little tangy, tart, sort-of-ish, right? Like they're not super sweet. You're lucky if you get a sweet one, but it's just all in what you like, right? Again, this is what I talked about, your taste buds. Or the sweet cherries, right? The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. You've heard that before. That's where it applies with those cherries. I love cherries. I just don't love cherry flavored stuff. It tastes disgusting. So I'd go on a cherry diet. If I turned to meat, it would devour my insides. I haven't had meat in such a long time. My body would go ape shit. Okay. Crazy. So trust me, I'd much rather deal with the devil I know, which are the cherries, versus the devil I don't know. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Vincent Coe writes, how would you rank prime Cliff Averill and Mike Bennett in today's D-line standard? Michael Bennett would be a national treasure, and to me, criminally underrated during his time as a player. His versatility, what he could do playing inside or outside, those are the types of players that are invaluable. You can't replace a Michael Bennett. Cliff Averill was cool. He was part of the NASCAR package that the Seahawks had when they were at the height of their peak, the peak of their powers, superpowers, when they were the Legion of Boom. But guys like Michael Bennett, those are the kind of guys you are looking for. Give me Michael Bennett all day long, all day strong. Let's see. Raiders Lifer 45. I apologize for that foolishness, Lou, but hey, that's the argument many are making to talk down on Bryce. First of all, you don't have to apologize to me for anything. If that's how you felt, and I'm not saying that is how you feel, but if that's, stand on that. You don't have to, we can agree to disagree. Like, you don't have to apologize to me. Like, that's the beauty of what we do here. I've created a safe space where you're allowed to have an opinion that doesn't have to jive with everybody else's. Your opinion is your opinion. And I may not agree with it. The next man may not agree with it. The next female may not agree with it. But guess what? They don't have to. It's your opinion, and you're entitled to that, right? So again, you don't need to apologize to me for anything, okay? I'm just telling you how I feel. And you can be like, okay, I hear you. I don't agree, but okay, cool. I got it. JCamman99 says, do you think the Bengals will now go 5-12? It's hard to see them win with their backup. 5-12 is harsh. You're essentially saying they won't win another game this season. They'll win another game this season. 7-10 is probably what they'll end up, is my guess. They'll sneak 1 or 2 games just off the strength of their defense. Like, every team on the schedule wasn't good. You know, there were some winnable games up there. You know, they have the Colts left on their schedule. Like, there's some teams they could beat with their backup quarterback. They'll win 2 more games, I think. 7-10. Jake Camman 99 says the Steelers are so lucky. Is it luck though when you keep doing it over and over again, or is it is it a skill? You got to ask yourself. They haven't outgained an opponent all year long, and they're 6-3. Is that luck or is that skill? Like, you got to ask yourself. This is what Mike Tomlin has been doing for over a decade. Now, obviously, when he had Ben Roethlisberger and, you know, he had the killer bees, he didn't have to deal with this shit. But how many years did Ben miss the bulk of a season and he still win 9 games or 8 games with Duck Hodges or what's the dude from Oklahoma, that Landry Jones or Mason Rudolph? Like, how many years did we watch Byron Leftwich comes in? How many years did we see him win with these cast-off quarterbacks? I don't think it's luck at this point. It's a skill. It's a mindset. It's a mentality. They're the people, and Mike Tomlin has instilled this in them. They're the ones that don't know that they're poor. They're thankful for what they have, and they don't look at what everybody else has and want that. Hey, mom can only afford, you know, 2 99-cent, you know, McChicken sandwiches, and it's 6 of us. We're going to cut these bitches in half, you know, in the quarters, and we're going to share this amongst the 6 of us, and we're going to make this shit work. Mom can only afford a medium pizza. Everybody get a slice. And then the last 2 slices, we're going to carve those bitches up and ration those out evenly, and it's going to have to work. They're not worried about what they don't have. They just make the most of what they do. That's a skill. That's an art. Most don't have that. Tomlin's instilled that mindset in them. Hey, look, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Here's what we got to do to win. Here's what it looks like when we play Pittsburgh Steelers football. Here's what it's going to look like. I don't think I call that luck anymore. Luck is doing it once and you go, wow, that's crazy. This man is over 500 every year. He hasn't had a losing season in his career. I don't think we can call it luck anymore. This is a skill, my friend. Jake Hammond, what do you eat for protein? This is a question that vegans get often that is so overrated. It's really not a question that vegans should have to answer as often as they do. Most things that you eat already contain protein in them. Okay. So even if you eat a all plant-based diet where you don't eat any kind of, you know, Beyond Meat or something like that, and I eat that from time to time. You know, Beyond Meat is my, you know, meat of choice if I decide to go to something that, you know, I want that kind of taste. I usually just try to stick to a lot of veggies and fruit and things of that nature. But when I decide to eat meat, it's usually Beyond something, whatever it is. But you can get it from that. I work out. I'm a gym rat. I love going to the gym. So I drink plant-based protein shakes. So you get protein there, obviously. But Anything leafy, anything vegetable has protein in it already. Just think about it this way. Some of the biggest, strongest animals that exist on this planet are herbivores. They don't eat meat. So where are they getting their protein from? They don't eat other animals. They're not carnivorous. They're herbivores. They seem to be doing just fine. Right? Gorillas don't eat meat. They're some of the biggest animals on the earth. They don't eat meat. Elephants don't eat meat. They're fine. So a lot of people ask, where do you get your protein from? I could eat kale. I could eat spinach. I could eat leafy green vegetables every day. I will be just fine with my protein intake. Animals do it all the time. See, Abel Ambrosio writes, man, next week we got a lot of football, Monday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Love it. I was good without the Friday, right? I was good with some college basketball, little college football maybe. I didn't need the NFL to infiltrate my Friday. I was really good on that. I'm a Black Friday shopper. I like to get out and mingle amongst the people. I don't need you setting a deadline on when I need to have my black ass back at home. So I'm not too fond, and it's not a game that I have to be in front of my television. It's Jets and Dolphins. When they set that up, they thought it would be Aaron Rodgers playing. So, and it's not. So I'm like, if I get there in the middle of the second quarter, am I mad? No, I'm not. But am I going to get there in the middle of the second quarter? Probably not. I'll probably be in front of my television when it comes on. But I'm not changing my schedule. If I'm out and I'm having a hell of a time racking up on some of these deals, I won't make it my business to be home by 1 o'clock when the game kicks off, whenever it starts. But as I always tell you, I'm not turning down football. So I'll be watching at some point, whether it's when it kicks off or by halftime. I'll be in front of the television at some point. Be right. Hold on, I got a super chat here from DJ23. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. DJ writes, I want this done the right way, but we have a QB now. So there is something to think about. You're not wrong. You want it done the right way, but you also want to consider the quarterback. And you want to do right by him as well. So you have to ask yourself, what's more important, the organization as a whole or the quarterback? And you could also ask yourself, well, can't you do both? Can't you do what's best for the organization and the quarterback at the same time? Fair question. Who knows the answer? I don't. We'll see. We'll see what ultimately happens. We'll see what happens. Be right. Says, Lou, I know you're going to get hot at me for this one. Low key, I really want the Giants to kick our ass on Sunday so we can get Ron gone and Jack up out of here. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not mad at you. That's your opinion. I don't want that because I don't want to keep losing to the Giants. That's one. If they're giving us an opportunity to beat them, like the last thing I want to do is look up and the Giants have a 5-game win streak against us. I think it's at 4 right now because if I'm not mistaken, the final game of the 2021 season was in the Meadowlands, and that's the game that what's the name of the damn safety? Bobby McCain had 2 picks, including a pick 6. And so they swept us. Well, they didn't sweep us last year. They won one and they tied one, and then they beat us already this year. What I don't want is to hear that we haven't beaten them in 4 games. Like I don't need that. The Giants aren't a good enough team to be holding a streak over anybody's head, including ours, especially ours. So no, let's go ahead and beat them, right? And Ron and Jack and company are getting up out of here, regardless. That bet is made. Okay, that ship has sailed. You want it done faster for whatever reason, that's fine, but it's going to get done. And whether it happens in November, in December, or January, it's going to get done. So I'm not rushing it. I still want to have a season. I want that Cowboys game to mean something. You lose to the Giants, that Cowboys game means absolutely nothing. Zero, zilch. I mean, theoretically, I've made this abundantly clear. The goal is to get to the bye week at no worse than 6-7 if you want to have a shot. You could lose to the Giants and theoretically still get to 6-7. You'd have to beat both Dallas and the Miami Dolphins to do that. You're not. If you can't beat the Giants, do you really think you're going to beat the Cowboys and the Dolphins? You're right. I don't think you're going to do it now. Anyway, it is what it is. All right, so let's get to our final segment of the show. In my money picks of the week. So I think right now, let me look it up. So I like to give you my statistics on the season when I do this. My record right now on the season is 92-58. Okay. 92-58 right now on the season. So not bad, but I am currently 9 games out of first place. So I'm not doing great, but I dug myself this hole. I deserve to be where I am right now. I got no excuses. I have not picked well this season, not by my standards, at least. I've set very high standards for myself, and I have not met them. But last week felt like a turning point of sorts, and I wanted to try to build up off of what let's see. That game on Thursday hurt because that was a swing game. A lot of people were going to pick Baltimore. I knew that. I needed that. But I'm not deterred because although this is an easy week and most players are going to pick the same teams because you should. Don't don't go against the grain just for the sake of going against the grain. That's how you end up, being pretty bad at the end of all of this. Like, don't just say, well, I'm going to pick the Giants just because everybody's going to pick Washington. Well, everybody's picking Washington for a reason, right? Don't be that guy, right? Don't pick Carolina because everybody's picking Dallas. Well, you can if you want, but when it's all said and done, you're going to have 7 losses and everybody else is going to have 3. So this is one of those weeks where it's kind of cut and dry. There's only 3 or 4 games that could go either way, and that was one of them, and I needed that, and I didn't get it this week. So that hurts. It puts me behind the 8 ball. But I feel really good about the rest of these picks. So much so that I think I'm going to be able to overcome the loss on Thursday. So. All right. Let's get to it. Steelers at Browns, AFC North family business. You know how the family do it. This got interesting with the loss of Deshaun Watson. This, you know what it feels like to me? And again, it could be different this time around, but it feels like when the Ravens went to Cleveland earlier this season, there was no Watson. That was the first game he missed. They turned to DTR, first career start, and he was awful. I think they scored 3 points, got beat up. The Ravens didn't do much of anything themselves offensively, but they didn't need to. It's one of those games. Just move out of the way. Let Cleveland self-destruct. You don't do anything stupid. It's the same thing the Bills should have done against the Jets in week 1. Once Rodgers went down, just move out of the way. Let them self-destruct. And you can walk out of here with a 19-3 victory. And that's essentially what the Ravens did that day. Lamar, I don't even think threw for 150. I think he threw for like 120 something yards. I know he didn't throw for 200. I'll just say that. It was one of those games where they just said, hey, move out of the way. Let them self-destruct. We'll walk out of here victorious. Kind of feel like that's what the Steelers need to do here, is just somehow slow down the rushing attack, because they're going to try to obviously feature the run game with a second, start for a rookie quarterback. But slow down the run game, force DTR to beat you, make throws. Maybe he holds on to it too long once or twice like he did against Baltimore. You get to him, or he throws it to the wrong colored jersey, and you just make enough plays. The Steelers are the masters at doing that. This is the perfect Steelers game. Hence, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers getting it done in that football game. Rams at the Dolphins, okay? Or not Rams, excuse me. Raiders at the Dolphins. The whole Antonio Brown story, or Antonio Pierce story, it's a fun one. It's cute. It's nice, right? However, all good things, a wise woman once told me, all good things must come to an end. And he had the perfect two opponents for his first two games, the two Jersey boys. Perfect two opponents to start out your regime, right? Giants featuring, Tommy DeVito, Jets with, Zach Wilson. Neither team can score. Perfect setup for him to go 2-0. Win the locker room, talk your talk, get people on board. But the truth of the matter is they haven't played anybody yet. And this is the first team that they're going to play. And the Josh Jacobs running the football, being physical, setting a tone, that's great. But you still got to score points. And they did score 30 against the Giants. They're going to need that kind of performance, less of the one we saw against the Jets. Granted, the Jets are a different animal defensively. So this is going to be interesting. I think Dolphins coming off of a bye, they've been good against teams like the Raiders. This is what they've thrived against this season. I expect the Dolphins to score on a depleted Raiders secondary. If I'm not mistaken, I saw them working out an oldie but goodie this week to sign to their roster. I can't remember who it was, but I was like, damn, they down bad if that's what they over here sniffing around at the cornerback position. But they are down bad right now. It was either somebody else's trash that they cut loose, and the Raiders like, hey, we'll take it, or it's a veteran corner that probably seen better days that shouldn't be in the league, but they don't have a choice. Either way, the Dolphins are just going to be much too much for the Raiders. Give me the Miami Dolphins in this game. Bears at Lions, NFC North family business. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, that's family business. And this is going to be an interesting game because this is Fields' first game back in almost a month. So all eyes are on him because, again, this is an audition for him. The Bears are going to have the number one overall pick via the Carolina Panthers. So you got a decision. And even if it's not, even if the Panthers somehow win a game and they end up with the number 2 overall pick, whatever the case may be, you got to be thinking about the quarterbacks. You're either going to have a chance to take Drake May or Caleb Williams, if you so desire. You're going to have to really entertain that. And to me, I don't know if Drake May would make me give up on Justin Fields, but Caleb Williams probably would if I believe in him that way. I myself would have to really vet the kid. And this is the thing that I always say. We don't have the resources. We don't have all the information. If I were in their position, I would be doing everything in my power. I'm going back. I'm talking to everybody. I want the reals. I don't want to talk about people who have the kid's best interest at heart. I want to talk to the people who have no vested interest, who don't care if he succeeds or not. Like the people who are just there, right? The equipment guy. Like, how's he treating him? What did you see? Is this guy a prima donna? Like, I need to know that. I need to understand how this guy's wired, because this is a big investment and it's a big decision if you're going to move on from Justin Fields. Whatever the case may be. Lions are back home. They've been on the road, it feels like, for a little while now. Back at home. Big win on the road at LA last week. Huge win. Good football team. And that's one of the teams I left out when I talked about, some of the better teams in the NFC. I don't think they're there yet. And you know how I feel about Jared Goff, even though I think he's playing really well. But obviously, the Lions are the better team. I expect them to exert dominance over a lesser family member here in the Bears. But I wouldn't be shocked if this game's a little bit closer than one might think. That said, give me Detroit at home, take care of business. Tennessee, Jacksonville, similar situation. Family business of the AFC South variety. Jacksonville's the better team. They're leading the division just like the Lions are. The Titans, down bad right now, starting Will Levis. The thing about Jacksonville is we saw them lay an egg at home last week. They laid an egg earlier this season at home to Houston. They're capable of wetting the bed at home. They're capable of wetting the bed at home. So keep that in mind. But the Titans haven't won a game on the road since the Clinton administration. So I can't fool with them. I can't fool with them. Give me Jacksonville at the crib. Enough said. Chargers at the Packers. I'll keep this short and sweet. I told y'all I'm not fooling with Green Bay the rest of the season. I didn't stutter. I'm not bullshitting. I don't rock with Green Bay. They've done me dirty all year this season. F them. Give me the Chargers on the road. Cardinals at the Texans. This is the one that's going to dig me out of the Thursday night hole that I created for myself. Most people picked Houston in this game. And while Houston's been really good at home, and I got to stop sleeping on the Texans. Like, this could bite me in the ass because the Texans are really good. And my brain still hasn't fully wrapped itself around the idea that the Texans are good. I'm like, come on, man, stop playing. Like, even the win last week, I'm like, in the back of my mind, I was like, these motherfuckers are for real. Like, they not just going to go away. And at the same time, I'm like, man, why you playing? You ain't making the playoffs for real this year. Why you act like why you holding up a spot for real? Stop. It's a lot of teams. And I was looking at Cincinnati and Buffalo, like, man, you ain't keeping them teams out. Now, Cincinnati ain't making the playoffs. Buffalo might not be who we thought they were going to be, and they done fired their offensive coordinator. Why not Houston? Why not Houston? This is why not Houston. Games like this at home against Arizona. And I might be selling Arizona a little bit too hard. They barely beat Atlanta last week. But that was also Kyler Murray's first game back. I don't know. I just got a feeling they're due for a letdown. That was a big win last week. That's huge. You know how much media attention came their way? They're a young team. I want to see how they handle all of that fanfare. Boy, a lot of shit came their way after that win. CJ Stroud for MVP. I heard that shit this past week. Are you kidding me? The numbers are extravagant. I'm aware. MVP though? Whew. This is a letdown game. They done been built up. It's time to chop their legs from under them. And it's time for them to take an L. Give me the Arizona Cardinals on the road to beat the Houston Texans. Bring them back down to earth. I'm not saying that they're not good and that they won't make the playoffs, but this is one of those weeks where you realize they're still a young team. Sort of like the Carolina game, right, for the Texans. Dallas at Carolina. Give me the Cowboys. Giants at Washington. No secret here. The Giants stink. I'm a Commanders fan. That doesn't mean anything. If the Giants were actually good. And if they were half decent, I might pick them in this game. We're not good either, but they're terrible, man. Commanders are going to win this game. Give me Washington. Tampa Bay at San Francisco. Big win last week for the Buccaneers. They needed that. They were kind of struggling. They were floundering. That Texans loss stung a couple of weeks ago. And so that one hurt. And I really feel like they needed a bounce back in that they probably had lost 3 or 4 in a row. So winning last week against Tennessee feels good. Feels good. Get off the schneid, maybe change the fortunes of your season. But this is a different animal you're dealing with in San Francisco. 49ers are going home for what feels like the first time in a long time. Feels like they've been on the road for a while now, right? So going home, and they deserved it. I feel like they played like 3 straight home games. I think they start out the season with like 2 straight road games, and then they played like 3 straight home games, and then, they hit the road again, it felt like. So they're back home again, and I think this is the first time they've been home since the Cincinnati game, if I'm not mistaken. So, and maybe it was just a bye week and 1 road game. That might have been all it was. But whatever the case may be, it feels like the 49ers are back to what they were at the beginning of the season when they started, 4 or 5-0, whatever it was. I think they were 5-0. Then they lost 3 straight, hit the bye, come off the bye, you win, you're 6-3. So they're back, and the Bucs can't score. Like, don't let 2 weeks ago fool you. They're not a team that puts up a ton of points. Take the 49ers at home to ground and pound this Bucs team into submission. Jets, Bills, AFC East family business. Of course, we know how the family do it. And these 2 teams already locked horns earlier this season. Bills had every opportunity to win, didn't want any part of a victory, and lost that game. I can't see them doing the same at home, but with everything that's going on, nothing is a guarantee. But the Jets, they had a team only, a players only meeting. They cut Michael Carter. They're kind of just like, to me, reaching at this point for anything. Maybe that has a trickle-down effect, and it bleeds over into the game on Sunday, and they get it done. I personally don't think it's going to do anything. I think the Bills are still mentally fragile, but they're good enough to get by. We thought the same thing against the Broncos, and it didn't happen. But I think they're mentally tough enough, talent-wise, I should say, not mentally. Talent-wise, they're good enough to get by the Jets, and I think they do. Give me the Bills at home. I would not be shocked if they lost that game, but give me the Bills at home. Seattle at the Seahawks at the Rams. So Rams went into Seattle week 1 and stomped a mud hole in these boys. So much so that I had to kind of pause and take a step back and kind of assess. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Rams were on a bye week last week. So that might have given Matthew Stafford an opportunity to heal up. They got their asses reamed against Dallas. He was banged up. They didn't play last week. And so maybe he's ready to go. If he's healthy, they're a different team because they got some stuff. But Seattle, I think, is poised to make a run at the division crown. They're not going to beat San Francisco on Thanksgiving night, I don't think. But I think it's going to be 7-3 versus 7-3 on that Thursday night, Thanksgiving night capper. You got to set the stage for that. You can't lose to the Rams before a quick turnaround Thanksgiving night against San Francisco. Hence, they take care of business on the road. Give me Seattle to get it done. Minnesota at Denver, Sunday Night Football. This is a fun matchup. Who would have thought 3 weeks ago we'd be talking about this game as a fun matchup? No Kirk Cousins, potentially no Justin Jefferson. He's listed as questionable. He may be back this week. But Josh Dobbs at quarterback. Broncos have won, what, 3 in a row. Vikings have won 4 in a row. Who would have thought we'd be here? 6-3 or 6-4, excuse me, Vikings. 4-5 Broncos. Who thought we'd be here? But here we are. Similar to the Raiders situation, Dobbs has been a great story. He's won 2 games in a row, started his first game against the Saints, came in relief against the Falcons, led them to 2 victories pretty much. But feels like this is where it's supposed to stop. That Broncos defense is good enough to present some issues. And we know this, we've seen this from Josh Dobbs before in Arizona this season. He'll start out really well and he won't turn it over, and he'll take you, and he did turn it over in the first game. So let's not act like he's not turning it over, but they overcame it. But once he starts turning the bitch over, it could get ugly fast. Could this be the game? I don't know. Kind of feels like there's this Dobbs mania thing going on, right? And the only way that crashes and burns is if it happens on national television, because we all know Chris Collinsworth is going to slob this guy down on Sunday night. Oh, my God. Joshua Dobbs, what a story, Mike. I mean, this guy's come out of nowhere. And, this is a guy that last year, can't you hear him saying that shit? This is a guy that last year got a start in Tennessee on a short week, and it really changed his career, Mike. I mean, look, this guy went to Arizona, was only there for 10 days, and I could hear this shit on and on for the next 2 quarters until he implodes, and you go, oh, that's Josh Dobbs. And I'm not wishing that on him. I just, eventually I know that's what's going to happen. Is this the week? Are the Broncos the team to actually take advantage of it if it does occur? Don't know, but I do know, I think that this is a Broncos team that is believing. They're finding ways to get it done. The defense is playing much better, and I think they're going to win this football game. I do. Give me the Denver Broncos at home to take care of the Minnesota Vikings. And then finally, Monday Night Football. What a game. Eagles at the Chiefs. Boy, they don't make them like these anymore. Like, it's rare you get these lined up. They set this thing up last year after the Super Bowl. It's like, yo, these 2 teams are going to play each other on the schedule. We got to set this thing up. And normally they would do this on a Sunday night. But I'm glad they put it on Monday night, because Monday night be getting the short end of the stick. Sunday night gets all the big games. And, Monday night used to be the game. So I'm glad they're getting this game. But a lot of times when you set this up, it doesn't live up to the expectations in terms of both teams handling their business and being where they're supposed to be when this game is finally ready to commence. Both teams have held up their end of the bargain. Eagles 8-1, Chiefs 7-2. They're clashing. This is great. Now, are we going to get a great game? Are we going to get a dudski? Don't know. Hope not, because I was very disappointed in Thursday night. Obviously, injuries had a lot to say, but I was disappointed. I've already kind of given you my vantage point of this game. The Eagles have yet, to me, to prove that. No, you know what? I won't say that, because they actually have. They just haven't been consistent. The Eagles have yet to play a full game with all 3 phases in lockstep like they did last season. And comparing this season to last season may not be fair. Each season is its own entity. And as Dan Campbell said, you win how you win, right? And they've been finding ways to win. It's easy to dismiss or overlook certain qualities or deficiencies when you're winning. It's the greatest deodorant that's ever been created, is winning. But I'm objective, and I know Eagles fans don't think this is the case. They think I'm a hater. Of course, I'm saying these things because I don't like them. Look, no, I don't like the Eagles, but I don't give a shit. I'm a football fan first, and I'm going to give you the reels. And I told you this already. Your defense is worse than it was last year, but it's better coached. Which would you rather have? That's a debate that I'll let you guys have off to the side. But your defense last year was better than this year's defense. But it was, to me, it's better coached this year. Meanwhile, your offense is better this year, but I think it was better coached last year. Again, you can have that conversation off to the side. You can call me crazy. You can do whatever you want with that information. But I've already said that numerous times, and I'm not moving off of that spot. And the Eagles haven't done anything to change my mind. That's how I feel. This offense is better this year than it was last year, but it's not better coached. The defense is not better than it was a season ago, but it is better coached this year. So the question then becomes, can you take a defense that's been up and down, that has given up a ton of yards, has found ways to win, but it hasn't been pretty? You've given up big days to Washington twice. You gave up a massive day to Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Should have lost that game, but you didn't. You didn't lose. You found ways to win. You made the critical plays when they had to be made. That's what this defense has done. Okay? Now, you did take the Dolphins' high-powered offense, and you reduced them to 17 points. And really, it was 10 because Hurts threw a pick six, essentially. So you did take a high-powered offense and reduce them to next to nothing. But I've watched this defense struggle all season long, going all the way back to week 2 against the Vikings. So the Chiefs haven't been good on offense. So I don't know if they're going to exploit some of the deficiencies defensively for the Eagles. But what I have seen from the Chiefs is a stark ability to be able to take advantage of defenses that are struggling, i.e. the Chargers, the Bears. They've had games this year where they've exploded on a team that has had issues defensively. Now, if the Eagles have their shit together defensively, they're going to have a shot to win this game. But this is the wild card that has the Chiefs at 7-2 and is a wrinkle that a lot of people didn't expect, and I don't think have fully come around to yet. If you haven't been paying attention, you're just, oh, it's Mahomes, it's the Chiefs, it's Andy Reid. The defense is better than the offense. If you haven't been keeping track of this, the defense is carrying this team right now. And so if their defense is able to do what they've been doing to a lot of teams this season, which is slow down a team from what they normally do, from an average points, yards, et cetera, third down average, red zone, all of that per game comes down when you play against Kansas City. If they're able to do that to the Eagles, I don't see how they lose this game. If they can't do that to the Eagles, then they're going to have to be forced to do something that they really haven't been good at doing this season. And that's outscoring somebody, like literally in shootout style. That used to be their trademark. Oh, you want to go? Because I guarantee you, your 6-shooter don't fire off faster than mine. I got the quickest gun in the West. You want to try me? Go right ahead. But they're not that team this year. So they're going to have to keep this game relatively low scoring. And when I say that, in the 20s. They don't want to go to the 30s with the Eagles, because if they do have to do that, I don't know if they're capable of winning that type of a game with the way their offense is playing this season. But again, the Eagles haven't been great defensively, and this could be one of the games where they get their shit off against the Eagles defense that has given it up this season. Ultimately, in games like this, I go with the team that I trust the most. I trust the Kansas City Chiefs more than I trust the Philadelphia Eagles, because they've been in more of these games than the Philadelphia Eagles have been in. So ultimately, I trust Steve Spagnuolo to out coach Brian Johnson as a first-year offensive coordinator. I expect Steve Spagnuolo to take his lunch and eat it in front of his face. And then on the flip side of that, I expect Andy Reid and his offensive coordinator to do enough against the Eagles' first-year coordinator on the defensive side, Sean Desai. So when it's all said and done, give me the coaching staff with the experience and the team that's done it over and over and over again. This won't be their first time playing in a game like this. And it's not the Eagles' first time. But they've played in so many of these games. While it's a big game, it won't be as big. Now, they're going to be thinking about the Super Bowl. And they know they may see this very same team again in February. They know it's very possible that this is a precursor to the Super Bowl. So you're going to want to win this game, and there will be a little bit of extra added juice and buzz surrounding this game. But the Chiefs have been in plenty of these in the regular season. Eagles, not so much. Not so much. They've been in some big games, but not like this. The Chiefs have been in a bunch of these. A bunch of these. Give me the Chiefs at home to take care of the Philadelphia Eagles. This should be a damn good game. It's like 27 to 23, 24 to 20. That's the kind of game I see. I don't see this thing getting to the 30s. If it does, I think advantage goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. Anyway, those are my money picks of the week. Feel good about them. Feel great about them, actually. Now the question is, will they deliver for the kid 2 weeks in a row? They delivered for me last week. Will they deliver again for me this week? We shall see. So let's get out of here. Didn't realize we'd been on that long, but that's what happens when we go social media maneuvers. We start talking about some of everything under the sun. This is why I like to do this at a time when I have a chance to chop it up with y'all. A lot of times when we do these podcasts in the normal slot, I'm on a time count, right? I'm on a pitch count. Got to be out of here by a certain time. So at night, I don't have any restraints, no restrictions. We can just go. This was fun. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, why are you on now? It's not Thursday. And you call me a drinker. It's Friday, Lou. If you were here earlier, then you would have gotten the entire explanation. But since you're my guy, it's Friday. Wasn't able to get this off during the day. My daughter, she's been dealing with a bevy of things, as everyone in the house has. But she had a diarrhea episode at school yesterday, which caused them to call me, and I had to sign a 24-hour, sheet essentially saying, hey, don't bring her ass back tomorrow. So she had to stay home today, which meant I couldn't work. She was literally my shadow today. So wasn't able to work until my wife got home. I had to do the Washington show then, and then everybody was home after that, get everybody to bed, and here I am. So that's why I'm on a Friday night. And no, it's not Thursday. I'm aware. And I'm not drinking right now, so I'm not drunk, okay? Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Sunday. Of course, I'll be live after the Washington and Giants game. Let me just say this too. If you are a part of any of the LTN exclusives, next week is going to be a different week. I want to make sure that you are aware, and I'll try to do this as much as I can to keep everybody abreast. I should have done this last week during the kickback so that everybody was aware. but everything is going to be pushed up a day. So I'm going to have the sheets out on Monday. The picks are due Wednesday because everything is accelerated on Thanksgiving week. I'm not going to be in the office on Thursday. So there won't be a ton of time for, alterations and things of that nature. Everything has to be in on Wednesday. And I just want to make everybody abundantly clear because there's a lot of money on the line, especially in the survivor pool. And I'd hate for somebody to get shut out of that. So I'm going to have to make probably a special video on like Monday to let everybody know, because I know not everybody's going to see this podcast episode. But anyway, I digress. You guys, get out of here. It's been a great night, great show. Cheers to everybody out there that made it such a great episode, man. I really appreciate y'all. And hopefully we'll be able to have another, Thanksgiving episode, another talk about Thanksgiving and all of that good stuff. Because I could do that all day, just like I could talk Christmas with you guys all day. And we do that sometimes. I'd love to talk with you guys again. So hopefully we'll get a chance to do that prior to Thanksgiving. Anyway, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you guys on Sunday. God bless. Good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.